Hello everyone and welcome back to my opinion. And in this video I'll be reviewing the second test between India and England. And so India managed to win this test comprehensively, making it 1-0 heading into the third test. And so Virat Kohli won the toss and chose to bat first, and India posted 329. And so England got off to a very good start with Shubman Gill getting out for a duck of three balls off Ollie Stone due to a misjudgment, and he got LBW. And Ollie Stone, in general, in this Test match, he looked very impressive, and he was actually my favourite bowler to watch out of the England lineup. Then there was a small partnership between Rohit Sharma and Chereshwar Pujara until Chereshwar Pujara got out to a slightly, I mean, we've seen him play these kind of shots before, but in this for this one, it seemed a bit casual, and he got out to Jack Leach, and it was caught at slip, and yeah, Pujara got out for 21 or 58, and then Virat Kohli came in and got out in a common way. We've seen him get out in this way many times when he's trying to play the cover drive against the spin, and the ball turned through the gate, and Kohli was in a bit of disbelief, and he actually thought that um, the keeper had, it's like either the keeper hit the stumps or the ball bounced off the keeper and hit the stumps, but it wasn't the case. And Kohli got out for a five-ball duck, and England were, they were back into this game, but. The one thing that India did have going for them was that Rohit Sharma was, I believe, on 56 or 56 at that time, or near that time anyway. And so, because he was going so well, India still had some kind of momentum. And Ajinkya Rahane, despite all the criticisms, and in fact both of them actually had criticisms coming into this game, and so they would have really been wanting to you know silence the doubters, and they did exactly that because Rohit Sharma played such a brilliant innings of 161 or 231, and Rahane played a vital innings of 67. And remember, this is on a turning track, and so these partnerships, and even if someone plays this innings that takes up, in this case, almost half of the runs, um, the other two, I mean, Ajinkya Rahane and Rishabh Pant also scored an unbeaten 58, meaning that on a turning track, at the end, 329 was an excellent score, and especially thinking that India actually lost their last four wickets for 29 runs, so they could have got a bit more as well. And so that's the reason why it was very good innings by those three. Rohit Sharma's innings. I mean, as I said, that we've seen him play some innings in Test cricket, especially at home, where the centuries that he scored. I mean, they've been big hundreds, and he really has just we've seen way back in the day, and I would say about 2013 in Sachin Tendulkar's last series when he scored 177 at the Eden Gardens, and also the double hundred I think against South Africa. We've seen these brilliant innings that he's played, and especially as far as home tests are concerned, I mean he's really, we know how good he is, how good of a player he is in ODIs and T20s, and you know it's always been a thing where we don't exactly know. I mean, personally for me, I don't exactly know why he hadn't been able to really succeed at the Red Bull game despite getting a few scores. But now I feel that his Red Bull game is at the best place that it ever was. And even in Australia, he did look good, even though he didn't really get the big scores. And remember, he was coming back from injury, so you also have to keep in mind that playing tests in Australia against Australia is not the first thing you'd want to do when coming back from an injury. And also, I felt that it was such a brilliant innings that played a big part in India actually going on to win the Test match because they had got that 329, and Rishabh Pant, his confidence continuing, scoring 58 of 77, and he also had a brilliant game keeping as well, and both keepers did actually. And Rishabh Pant in this series for me is actually kept very well. And yeah, India got 329. So the bowlers. So Stuart Broad got he's none for 37 and 11 overs, and I actually thought he bowled well, but there wasn't really much assistance for him. It was always going to be tough for him to really get much assistance from these conditions. And Anderson was rested, and so I mean, Ollie Stone came in, and I actually thought he bowled very well, 3 for 47 and 15.5. I mean, he was for me, the only threatening element in the entire England attack. And the thing is, this is a turning track. And despite the fact that Jack Leach, after that mauling he received, of Rishabh Pant in the first test, he hasn't bowled badly at all. And, he is a good bowler, but I'm still saying that level of threat, despite the fact that he does bowl well, it isn't there. And Moeen Ali scored, he bowled 4 for 128. So you think he got a fourfer, but really then he got 2 wickets out. So 2 of the wickets were actually when India lost 4 for 29, in the first bit of the second day. And so really, Moeen Ali, he got Kohli out, yes, but he really didn't bowl very well. And he got kind of smashed around a little bit. And yeah, it wasn't the greatest first innings from him. And Joe Root 1 for 23 and 11 actually, kept it tight. And the thing is, in this innings, there's actually no extra of any kind, from England. So that was, a very good thing from them. But unfortunately for them, they still conceded a bit too much due to, 3 brilliant innings on a turning track. Then England came to bat, and yeah, I mean, they conceded a bit too much, and it showed because of just how much they actually struggled. And there was one player who you thought turning tracks, Ravichandran Ashwin completely destroyed them. And we all knew it was going to be hard to play him in these conditions, but, this 5 for 43 and 23.5, it just proved that even more. Rory Burns at 0 of 3, I think LBW bowled Ishant Sharma. Dom Sibley also got out in a very weird way actually off Ravichandran Ashwin. And then there was Dan Lawrence, 9 of 52. I mean, the thing is, there was no sense of momentum in the innings, and the highest score was Ben Foakes with an unbeaten 42 of 107 balls. And the Indians, they bowled brilliantly, and Ashwin with 5 for 43, 23.5, really, the talisman in this case. And Akshar Patel with 2 for 40 in 20 overs. I mean, I thought as far as bowling is concerned, I thought he had a brilliant test match. And I talked about the fact that, I'm going to say this again, I would prefer him over Jadeja in limited overs, but, I obviously thought that Jadeja, how good of a test player he is, I thought that especially on, a turning track, as I said, I thought that it would be interesting to see how Akshar Patel would go. And I was surprised that he played in this test match, because I actually thought that the knee injury, the injury that he had would last for a longer period of time. But, he came for this test match and he bowled brilliantly in both the innings. And I really thought that the angle at which he bowled, now he doesn't really turn the ball much, but I really thought in this test match, he did turn the ball, a little bit. And the angle that he bowled, especially, we've seen how effective it's been in limited overs in the IPL, and we saw again how effective it was in a test match. And I really thought he had an excellent debut, and yeah, I'm very happy for him. Ishant Sharma, 2 for 22 in 5 overs. I mean, you don't really have much to do as a seamer in these conditions, and especially with India, the quality of spinners that they have. You don't really have much to do, despite the fact, being already a lead seamer like Ishant Sharma, and he got 2 wickets in that, so honestly, it isn't really that bad. And Kuldeep Yadav, I'll get to, because actually, it's not that he bowled badly at all, but I'm actually going to say, it's an observation that we all saw in this test match, where some may say it's not really necessary to mention, but I feel that it is definitely. So Mohammad Siraj bowled 4 consecutive maidens, I think, and then he gave 5 runs in his last over, and he got 1 for 5. And so coming to Kuldeep Yadav, he actually only bowled, if I can see here, so he actually only bowled 12.2 overs in the entire test match, and he gave 41 runs, but he got 2 wickets. And he got 2 wickets in the second innings, and so he didn't bowl badly. He didn't bowl badly, but I'm saying that the thing is, there was all this thing about him being included and everything, and people were saying that he should have been included in the first test. And honestly, I back the team management for the reason why he wasn't included in the first test, because even I didn't think he would play the first test. And so he actually only bowled 12.2 overs on a turning track. And I'm not, trying to create anything here because, it just happens. And especially, being the third spinner, because that shows how well Akshar Patel actually bowled in this test match. And, you know, it really gave them, Virat Kohli the faith in the second innings to actually bowl Akshar Patel early on. And still he did that well. And so I actually thought that I never expect, I thought Akshar Patel would do, I thought he'd do well, but I never thought that he'd actually do this well and effectively be the second spinner rather than Kuldeep Yadav, who has played Test cricket before. And, again, that's how well Akshar Patel bowled. And I don't really think there's anything to say, that Kuldeep Yadav did anything badly because he honestly, he didn't. It just, as a third spinner, and especially when it's going so well for the other two, you can understand why he didn't really get as much of a ball as he would have, liked to, and probably as he thought he would. So yeah, that was England's innings, 134. Not enough, and India came to bat, and a mention on Ben Foakes because I thought, he was. But both the keepers were excellent in this game. I mean, Ben Foakes, you saw the stumping, and he actually should have got Rohit Sharma for a stumping where I thought that, and others thought that there was nothing behind the line. But, luckily for them, it didn't cost much in the end. And honestly, I was actually, kind of happy that Rohit Sharma got out because I didn't, despite the fact that I want India to win the series, and in any case, I don't like the fact that, a situation where, an incorrect decision means that someone can get a lifeline that affects a game, even more. And so, yeah, I thought that, him and also Ajinkya Rahane, with the fact that there was this review where they actually asked for, they reviewed it a second time where they asked for, the snicko on the glove. But unfortunately, that wasn't the angle given, and it was the LBW. And understandably, Joe was very frustrated. And so, seemingly, Ajinkya Rahane felt guilty because he played this very, you just wouldn't see him play that kind of a shot, really. And especially in that innings, he was just playing very well. And that shots really seemed very uncharacteristic the way the innings was going. And so, yeah, it was pretty not a great dismissal, but as I said, England should have got him out before, so all was well as far as how the test match went on. And so yeah, coming to India's innings, I thought that as I said again, Ben Foakes was brilliant. Rishabh Pant also with two stunners that he took in the first innings when England got bowled out, and also the stumping he did in the second innings of Dan Lawrence was brilliant. And so India came to bat, and there weren't really, many big scores. Rohit Sharma scored 26, Shubman Gill 14 of 18, getting LBW to, I would say a straight one from Jack Leach, well, a near straight one from Jack Leach. And Pujara, a very weird run out where the bat got stuck in the ground just before the line. And you could tell by his reaction when they were going up to the stump, he was kind of on the floor, and you could tell he knew he was out. And yeah, it was a very disappointing dismissal for him. And Rishabh Pant, there was a brilliant delivery from Jack Leach, and it was flighted and drifted in a bit, and it was a brilliant bit of work from Ben Foakes. And Rahane, he caught by the bat pad fielder, and so for 10 off 14. And India were at 106 for 6. And actually, no, I think they weren't 106 for 6 yet. Then Akshar Patel came in, and Moeen Ali took his wicket, and so then they were 106 for 6. And there was really, there were two brilliant innings. You look at Ashwin, who in the end scored the 100, and he said it was a childhood dream ticked off, and he actually gave this speech in Tamil in the post-match presentation. And there were two innings here because there was one player who, this test match, and for me, I predicted actually before, not on camera, that Ashwin would be the man of the series. And you could say a lot of people would have predicted that, but there have been quite a lot of, doubts on Ashwin, and I don't know why, because he's bowled well, pretty much every single time. And even people have been doubting him overseas, but you've seen the last two Australia tours, he's bowled well. Even in England, I thought, he did bowl well. And so I don't understand the whole doubt behind that. But I'm saying that, there was one case where it was Ashwin's test match, and yep, he scored 100. And there was at the other end, the 62 was a masterclass from Virat Kohli, and especially after the way he got out in the first inning. So if you saw to the right arm off spinner, he moved across his stumps and kind of negotiated the spin, and to the left arm off spinner, he stayed leg side of the ball, so you could play it to the offside. And so there was also this brilliant shot, this bottom hand flick through mid on, which went for four. It was an excellent shot, and I really thought that, yes, it seems like he hasn't scored 100 in a while, but that innings was so good. I would even classify it as near 100 because it was such a brilliant innings. I mean, he really, even Sunil Gavaskar said that he himself may not have really thought to have done what Kohli did, but it's the fact that Kohli is he's so confident. I mean, this is me adding to this as well, that Kohli is he's so confident in his games that he felt that he could make this adaptation, and he had faith in what he was doing, and it paid off. And 62 of 149, and in a vital partnership that really cemented India's position of ascendancy in the test match. And then after he got out, Ashwin was batting, and Ishant Sharma got out for it was a half-hearted hoik, but you could have said he's trying to be positive, but as someone who wanted Ashwin to get his 100, I mean, it was a bit frustrating to see. I mean, I'm not going to blame him for it because the team, even Ashwin would have been playing for the team's success, but this, as he said, it was something he was thinking about. And so Mohammad Siraj came in, and he did a great job in blocking it out until Ashwin got to his 100, and it was a very wholesome moment when Siraj was cheering as well and was happy for Ashwin when he got his 100. And Siraj hit two brilliant sixes off I think it was a Jack Leach and Moeen Ali, I think so. So yeah, definitely off the spinner, he hit two brilliant sixes, and he actually finished unbeaten on 16 of 21 after blocking a few at the start. And Ashwin 106 of 148. He chopped one on off Ollie Stone because it was something that it wasn't that short. It wasn't short enough to pull, and he tried to play the pull shot, and he got out. But at that stage, 286 from 106, and England needed 482 to win the game. And yeah, England got out for 164. I mean, I actually thought until Dom Sibley got out, I thought they were actually negotiating things pretty well. I mean, we've all, it's very hard to bat in these turning tracks, and I thought that they were negotiating. You look at Dom Sibley's 3 of 25, so he got out in his 25th ball, and so actually he was doing pretty well. And I actually thought with the way that Rory Burns was going, I mean, I thought that the 6 overs that Ashwin bowled towards the end of day 3, I really thought it was a bit off colour, and there was also a combination of Dan Lawrence when he batted, using his feet brilliantly, being proactive against Ashwin. And he scored 26 all in all until he got out of him the next day. And so Rory Burns got out for 25. So Dom Sibley got out first for 3 of 25, and he was, LBW of Akshar Patel. It was plum. And Rory Burns was the next to go off R. Ashwin. And then Jack Leach came in as a night watchman, but so Dan Lawrence came in, was playing his shots, but then Jack Leach came in as a night watchman and got out first ball of Akshar Patel to the short leg fielder. And then Joe Root came in, and honestly, it's two ways. I mean, I honestly don't mind it wasn't given not out, because you could understand why it definitely, there was a case to be made that the impact was outside off. So I can understand why it wasn't given out. So and I definitely understand why people didn't really like the fact that Virat Kohli kind of went up to the umpire afterwards, and there's this whole exchange and everything. And on Virat Kohli, actually, it was the first time I've actually seen him fielding with a helmet on in, I would say, really my life. I've actually never seen him fielding in those positions with a helmet on, but you could see that, he really wanted to win the game, and he was also, doing the whole whistle blower thing to the crowd to get them engaged, because, he was really enjoying himself, and India enjoyed themselves, really. And despite the fact that Joe Root, got that reprieve in the end, which was within the laws of the game, really. I mean, so, you could call it I can completely understand why the umpire didn't give it out. And so England went in, I think, 53 for 3. And then the next day, I mean, we all knew India was going to win because England had to bat for 2 more days after this. And obviously, that's a lot of time to win a test match. But if you're playing on a turning track when you're clearly not comfortable with it, and also, you know, you've lost wickets and you've lost 3 of your top order batsmen. And so this was never going to be easy. In fact, it's probably going to be near impossible. And in the end, it proved to be way too much of a task, as no one really got going at all, apart from, Rory Burns 25, Dan Lawrence 26, Joe Root 33, and Moeen Ali came in at the end and absolutely smashed the spinners around. It was a very entertaining knock to watch, and the game ended with another good bit of keeping. So Kuldeep Yadav bowled it wide, it turned away. Moeen Ali tried to come down the track, missed it completely, and a brilliant stumping from Rishabh Pant then capped off 2 great games for the keepers. And the bowling figures here: Ishant Sharma with none for 13 and 6, Akshar Patel 5 for 60 and 21, Ashwin 3 for 53 and 18. So he came back after his, first, he was a bit off colour in his first 6 overs. And Kuldeep Yadav 2 for 25, 6.2, Siraj none for 6 and 3. Now, there's a reason why, obviously I actually didn't say the England figures from India's second innings. And the thing is, it's this. So Jack Leach got 4 for 133, and Moeen Ali got 4 for 98 and 32. And Yaki bowled, he bowled okay. And so this is, you think they're good figures. And what I'm trying to say is this. After the test match, obviously there was this whole miscommunication that Moeen Ali chose to go home, which I thought was a really it would have been really embarrassing for Moeen Ali that this information was, conveyed in an untrue way, because he didn't choose to go home. In the end, they sent him home, and I reckon it's this whole resting thing. But at the same time, why would you bring him in for one test match and then send him home again? And you're thinking, look, okay, the first innings in bowling, he was off colour. Like he really was off colour. It says 4 wickets, but as I said, he got 2 of the wickets in the surge where India couldn't really get more runs at the start of day 2, and he really didn't bowl very well and keep the pressure up at all. And in the second innings, I thought he bowled okay, and he got a 4 for in both the innings, and he scored an 18 ball 43. Now, you could keep him in the team, and seeing as how high stakes this series is, it only happens once in 4 years, and he's got a point to prove, and he's relatively out of favour in all formats for England, really, because he isn't a starter in any one of the formats. I mean, the closest you'd get to being a starter is in T20s, and even then they are thinking of other options. And in ODIs, we've seen he hasn't been in the greatest form either, especially, when he played against Ireland. I remember this 8-ball knock, which was one of the worst 8-ball knocks I've seen in my life. And this is the thing here, is that you could see that he was getting some confidence. Now, you couldn't really see it when, when he got the wickets, you could tell that he was someone who was trying to be on his way back up to really be in favour for regular selection. And so you could tell that he really, he wanted to do well, and, he did well, I would say, with the 4 that he got in the second innings and his innings of 43. And I don't understand why he was then, sent home. It just doesn't make any sense, because, the World Test Championship final, I've already conveyed my opinion on that tournament in another video, but I'm saying that it is still a final of some sort. And if England had got to the World Test Championship final, especially after winning such a series, a high-profile series in India against India, it would have been something, and it would have been good if Moeen Ali could have been able to get, some confidence from what he had done with the ball and with the bat, and really continue this for the last 2 tests. But he didn't. He's not going to get the opportunity to do that now, and I just find it really confusing, because then they have to play Dom Bess again, and they drop Dom Bess for his lack of control, but then you've got someone who's got 2 4-fers in each innings, and clearly seems on the track of providing more control than Dom Bess, and is a better off spinner than Dom Bess, and is a better batsman than Dom Bess, despite Dom Bess isn't a bad batsman at all. So I just don't understand the logic behind that. And yeah, it's just the fact that, this whole attitude that England had towards. I mean, honestly, look, I said the fact the first game was too toss orientated, and it was true. The first game was way too toss orientated. The second game wasn't. I mean, you could say what you want. India got 329 because of an unbelievable innings from Rohit Sharma and two very good innings from Rahane and Pant. And the pitch was always a turning track. It was always hard to bat on. And it's just the fact that England had a bad attitude to turning tracks. And you've seen a lot of people on social media say, oh no, this pitch is terrible. But what, like, and I counter argument to that is something I agree with a lot. What, when India go to England, you prefer the greenest of pitches ever. And so you expect India to bat on that. And if it doesn't work out too well, India gets criticized. No one says the pitch was bad. So why suddenly... Why, when it's a turning track, there's this, there's this association with it being some kind of a minefield? And I don't really get that, because it's just two extremes, which succeeding on these kind of tracks that require the application of skills from the batsman makes them into better players. So I don't understand this whole, thing of the pitch was bad, because it really wasn't. And yeah, this coming back to this, Ashwin got the man of the match and everything. And I understand people are making a case for Rohit Sharma to get the man of the match, and I do understand that. But there was this sense of, Ashwin got the 5 wickets again, England all out for 134, which even if India hadn't scored 329, would have provided them with some kind of an advantage. And India scoring 286 in the end because of Kohli and Ashwin, I understand why they gave Ashwin the man of the match. And honestly, Rohit Sharma's innings was brilliant. I completely understand why people wanted him to get the man of the match. But Ashwin, for me, he made sure that India was still in a position to win the game. And yeah, coming back to R. Ashwin, so I understand where this thought came from. There was a lot of things where there was a possible rift between Virat Kohli and Ravichandran Ashwin, and I feel that I can understand where this came from, because I think it was in the 2019 IPL game when Kohli caught the catch at the boundary of Ashwin, and he did some like Mankad kind of send off thing, or asked why, kind of a what don't Mankad kind of thing, and so people thought that because of the aggressive send off that they didn't really get along. And I never thought there was a rift between them, and simply because they both understand each other's value to the test team and are both integral to the success of the test team. And so I thought that even if there was some kind of dislike, that, after a while they would both still be friends, considering that they are both brilliant cricketers. Whereas, as you've seen with all this, but they've talked about, Ashwin has talked about, a message sent from Kohli before he left after the first test in Australia, and also this interview we saw in BCCI's, website, where Kohli was actually conducting an interview, interviewing Ashwin, and just they were both talking about what happened and everything. And so yeah, I feel like there is no rift. I never thought there was a rift, but now there is. We can all just say that there isn't any kind of dislike at all. And for me, this whole dislike thing, I would say that after a few days after that IPL game that I mentioned, even that thought kind of went away, because I thought it's a very stupid thought to have, because it's, we've seen the kind of thing where people think there's a rift between Kohli and Rohit Sharma when there just isn't. And yeah, that's my take on that. And India have made it 1-1, and it'll be very interesting to see the day-night test, because England can also win it, and so can India. And I feel like the key bowler for India, or player for India actually, will be Ishant Sharma. And for England, they say Anderson's rested, but I wouldn't be surprised if he's back for the third test. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, and please share this video with your friends. And remember, this is my opinion. What's yours?